Welcome to the e-commerce Leader Series, a podcast dedicated to helping founders and operators navigate a future of e-commerce with AI. I am one of your hosts, Ciske Smit, a very recent addition to the Luca team, working on product strategy and user research. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by David Trotter, who is the managing director and then also self-proclaimed and widely known serial inventor at Muggy. Muggy is a British brand behind what they call the Earth's most useful drinks carrier, I believe. David has a fascinating journey. He invented Muggy after coffee kept spilling on the deck while he was sailing in the rough seas. And since then, he's built Muggy into this incredible brand made in the UK from 100% recycled ocean and land waste plastic with an 88-year guarantee. So this is a really interesting conversation ahead. Welcome, David.
And thank you for having me. I feel very honoured, and I've never had such a brilliant introduction before. So thank you.
I'm glad you're happy. I mean, you have you are the reason for the good. We had a wonderful little tete-a-tete earlier about some French words, which we will get onto now. And I think this is a good intro to yourself and how Muggy came about. So you describe yourself, I've read, as an inventor first and then a business owner second. And can you kind of walk me through that journey and what ultimately led you to creating Muggy?
By all means, and again, thank you for having me on. Muggy came into being 16 years ago on a sailing boat crossing the sea from France back to the UK in probably a force 5 or 6 gale storm. It wasn't my boat, I hasten to add. My friend Tony was down in the depths of the yacht trying to make 4 cups of tea for us, the crew. And the mugs were crashing about in the sink and all the handles broke off. And I won't use the exact phrase that Tony used when he shouted up through the hatch to me, who I was helming the boat at the time. But it was along the lines of, "Sort my flipping mugs out, Trotsky." And Trotsky's my sailing nickname, Trotter being a surname. And I'm there really to cook breakfast and mend things. And so that was the brief in a very short and sharp form. So I went away when we got home and thought there must be a way of solving this problem, i.e. making 4 cups of tea safely on a boat, being able to carry them one-handed from the bowels of the ship up onto the deck, and then put it down on the deck so that it doesn't get flushed into the sea. So those are the 3 basic requirements. And I came up with a prototype. I won't go into all the details, but sent it back to Tony, and I got a message back from him the next weekend, and it just said, "Yippee, it works." So I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. I then, kind of rolled it around in my mind and made 2 proper prototypes out of a very high quality foam material that they use in super yachts and things. Relatively environmentally friendly version using nitrogen. But we trialed those on a couple of boats for probably about 10 months, and they just worked. They did what they said on the tin. And I then had to take the big decision as to what do I do with this, because I never started as an inventor or a self-employed businessman really, but I was at the time running a business that Sarah, my wife, and I set up, building tree houses across the UK, having basically left the corporate world, and I couldn't do both. And so I took the step to sell the treehouse business and became the serial inventor and owner of Muggy. We launched it at the International Boat Show in London in 2011, and I expected to try and sell Muggies to every other boat owner in the world, and that would probably be enough. We sold, I don't know, 500-600 at the show, and I thought, hang on a minute, this is obviously captured an unknown niche in the market. And I thought, well, next year I'm obviously going to be a millionaire with a surname like Trotter. That may not work in France, but there's a program in England about the Trotters, but some of your viewers will know it. But to cut a very long story short, a 16-year story short, over the last 16 years, we have continued to make Muggies in the UK with a UK plastic injection molding business, who also created the tool. So they look after the tool and they make Muggies from it every 43 seconds if we want to. So I'm very passionate about making in the UK and supporting the UK manufacturing. And we have moved gradually from virgin plastic through to various recycled versions of plastic using sea plastic and also curbside plastic. And now we use whatever we can get in the most environmentally friendly way. But at the same time, we've moved into, I lose track of the number of markets that we now sell to, thank goodness. And it basically spreads across maybe 10 different markets. And sailing is a relatively small global market because yachts are expensive. But we now sell Muggies to motorhomes and caravans, little old ladies in care homes, to wheelchair users, to people on crutches, people using walking sticks. And it all boils down to the three original facts that Muggies hold 4 drinks inside it, down in 4 wells, the little slots for the handles to stick out if you've got a handle on your glass or your mug or your cup. So they can't fall off or out of a Muggy unless you turn it upside down like a standard tray. So there's the original thought that it holds the drinks securely. And that's everything all the way up to pints of beer and wine bottles. They all fit and are kind of locked in. And then so long as you've got the strength to carry 4 bottles of wine in one hand, you can carry 4 bottles of wine in one hand in a Muggy. So your other hand is free to either use a stick or a crutch or hang on to a handrail going up and down stairs. And then the final element, the non-slip factor, has got 4 little rubber feet underneath the Muggy, so that once you put it down, it stays where you put it. And that could be on top of a walking frame for an elderly person in a care home. It could be in a cupboard on a motorhome or a caravan. And it could also be on your lap, on your thighs, if you're in a wheelchair. And those are just some of the markets that we sell to, but we also sell to pubs, clubs, restaurants, cafes, festivals, on the beach. We even had some photographs the other day sent in of Muggies in the grey security bins as they go through the scanners at St Pancras station to hold people's mugs and cups and glasses safely. And now I don't know where they bought them from, but they must have come from me somewhere. So, that's a new market that I hadn't even thought about, the security market. So I'd like to see Muggies in every airport, please, keeping things safe as they go through. So I've been very fortunate, I think, to sell to so many different markets. We're still a very, very small manufacturer, retailer within the UK or even within the globe. But we do sell Muggies from here to New Zealand in various different markets. And we use different ways of getting the Muggies to market. And that's probably coming into the sort of area of where you guys are more interested in my full life story, which I'm sure you can cut down in the edit if you need to.
No, this has been fascinating. I always think people who have almost first-hand experienced the problem and then came up with a solution, those solutions are often so much more well thought out, right? And so much more successful. So you can really see that this came from a real need that you needed to address. And then, I mean, the applications or the different use cases are incredible. Before we started the recording, David asked me if I think Muggy is a male or a female in French. And my answer was female because I think they're very useful and practical. But David, you gave me a different answer why you think it's female.
Well, I nowadays it's quite a tricky subject, gender, and because I was born in the 50s, I'm probably not the expert on it. But I do feel Muggy is, if she has to be one or the other, I think she's female. I think she has that feeling of caring for others. I'm not saying men can't care for others, but you know, the motherly, homely, female, generally female angle of you know, looking after people, looking after your drink, keeping things safe and secure, as a homely, probably getting into slightly dodgy water here, so I'm going to probably sign out. But that, yeah, I'm sure that, you know, there are they or a them Muggy as well for people who want to be, you know, slightly more modern and broad-minded. I'm very modern and very broad-minded.
I think this really does show, though, this, I mean, we can caveat things by saying stereotypically maternal, right? So, but I think this really points, to me at least, to the heart of the product, which is this ability, or it's how it helps people who have limited mobility. So it's not just for people who own these expensive yachts, for example.
Yeah.
It really also looks towards people who have limitations. And I think that's a really brilliant kind of emotional heart of the brand itself.
Certainly very inclusive.
Yes.
By mistake, really. And you're absolutely right. You know, a millionaire, billionaire on his boat. We have sold some to superyachts, which is quite exciting. But you know, to keep you know, some gin and tonic off their teak deck, it probably isn't really going to be very life-changing. Whereas within the disabled and independent living worlds, I would get a bit choked up. So I don't know whether I should go down this route, but it's just a piece of recycled plastic that we mold into something that can actually totally transform some people's lives. And there are two stories that I could quickly whiz through if you'd like me to.
Please.
Because I think it just encompasses something really, really special in the essence of what a Muggy is, because there are so many products out there, you know, a toaster or a kettle or I'm not going to say I could say Hoover because there aren't any Hoovers left. They're all vacuumers, aren't they? With various brands, other brands are available, etc. But I was at one of these shows for the disability world many years ago, must have been at least 14 years ago, probably, when the early days where I was attending every possible show in every possible market, because I just wait and see what happened, I suppose. And I met a lovely young couple with their daughter who suffers from spina bifida, and she's extremely immobile. She's in an electric wheelchair, and all she can really do is move a joystick as to where she wants to travel and communicate through a kind of an iPad, you know, electronic voice. And they came to the stand, bought a Muggy, and gave it to their daughter, and they put it on her lap, and then she asked us electronically, would anyone like a coffee? And I sort of glanced at the mum, and she kind of nodded, and so I said, yes, please, I'd love that. And their daughter whizzed off down the aisle and was away, I don't know, 8 or 10 minutes or so. And I was chatting to this young couple about the last 18 18 years of their life with her, which is obviously quite challenging. So that was a real enlightenment for me on that side of things. But the next thing we see is this smile on wheels coming down the aisle at the NEC in Birmingham, and their daughter has got 3 Costa coffees in the Muggy and a bottle of water, which she has bought and has delivered back to us. Well, the first person to go is her mum into a soggy emotional heap, followed by her father, and then followed by me. So it was one huge emotional soggy heap, because it's the first time, or it was the first time in their and her life that she had ever done anything for anybody ever. Which, you know, the smile was literally ear to ear. You know, she knew exactly what she was doing, and completely transformational, emotionally, almost physically, I suppose. So that was quite a Muggy moment, just to get Muggy moment in there. But because every moment's a moment, isn't it? This is a living in the moment, and we've just finished that moment, and we're into another moment now. The other one I'll keep a bit shorter was a daughter about my age bought a Muggy for her mother, who was in a care home, and Granny Gigi is how she was known by all the grandkids, and therefore I just thought, this is karma, or whichever, because I'm quite passionate about my double G in the word Muggy. It forms the logo, it forms the whole essence of the core of the thing, which is quite fun. So Gigi was a ridiculous coincidence. In fact, my whole life has been ridiculous coincidences, but that's a longer story. But the next thing I know is I get a photograph from the daughter of Granny Gigi in the care home, wandering the corridors with her walking frame, with a Muggy sitting on the top. And funnily enough, it sits perfectly in the Buckingham caddy tray, for those who are in the industry. And she is delivering, at the age of, I think it was about 92, 93, cups of tea and drinks to all her inmates at the age of, you know, a great age. So she was getting physical exercise, she was getting mental exercise. At that age, she suddenly had a purpose again, rather than sitting in a sort of stained, seated room somewhere staring at a television. So I'd like to think that she's still with us. But that's probably costing her
many years.
many years of frightening fees. So I have no idea where Granny Gigi is. I hope she's still with us, but or she's probably delivering cups of tea up in wherever she is.
Yeah. These stories are incredible. I think, go ahead.
So those are just 2 snapshots of what I've experienced with this ridiculously simple device, which I'm very proud of, obviously. And I hope we sell a lot more of them. We find that people don't know about the brand because we haven't really haven't been able to promote it, on the scales we want to. I very luckily have been on the telly a couple of times with a sort of Dragon's Den type show, and people loved it. We won, we got our little trophy. The customer's always right, and our web sales went up. But it's one of those things that people don't know they need, but once you know you need it, you think, why on earth didn't I have this before?
Yeah.
So we've only ever had 2 returns of Muggies from our website, which I think in 16 years says something pretty powerful. We get the odd return on Amazon because people probably don't read the small print and don't realize that Muggies have a limit to what they can actually hold. You won't get these giant bucket-sized mugs into them. But if you have a proper-sized mug, you'll be fine.
No, totally. I think these stories, it's kind of first of all, I can imagine if you're working in your day-to-day operations, these kind of stories, these really heartwarming stories about this girl finally being able to deliver coffee to her family, and then this woman, being able to, I would assume, is kind of an act of care and love that she wasn't able to give for a very long time to her friends and her fellow residents at the care home. Finally being able to do this again, and like what an incredible story to hold on to as you have to kind of have to work through the day-to-day operations of running a business. And you also seem to have such passion for the work that you do, and kind of have unlocked what every small business owner wants, which is to make a useful product. So you're doing really well, it seems.
Well, I will do, I hope. Yeah, no, I mean, I love every day. Every day is different, obviously. I mean, this conversation is, well, it's a huge opportunity for me and for Muggy. I'm a teeny weeny brand. I was so pleased to be called up by Luca, and I'd never heard of you guys before, but I've obviously heard about you now. I've looked at some of your previous work, and liked the approach that you guys, Eric, has worked on, and it looks like you're stepping into Eric's shoes, which is really cool. And I'm going to promote you guys. You're promoting me at the moment, so it's we're all scratching each other's backs, aren't we? So it's cool. It's cool.
I agree. Kind of, we help each other get to where we need to be. But no, I'm very happy to have also learned more about Muggy in preparation for our conversation, and then also now speaking to you. I want to switch gears a little bit to get to the bit of the meat of the podcast. And talk about kind of daily operations. So I'm wondering, in your day-to-day of running and trying to scale Muggy, what has kind of been your greatest operational bottleneck that you've run into kind of, or when it comes to running things efficiently? And can you give an example?
Yeah, certainly. As I say, Muggy is a small operation on purpose, really, and partly probably one of the limiting factors. I'm the inventor, the creator. I find it very difficult to delegate. That's one of my many weaknesses. But Muggy is basically me, and with all the wonderful, technology nowadays, which we didn't have 16 years ago, probably quite to the same extent. I've tried to boil it down to some very, very simple elements, and it comes down to some manufacturers in Kent, a large warehouse, storage, fulfillment facility in the Midlands, a colleague, local colleague who looks after the Amazon site, because I don't really understand or not particularly interested in managing that, and a couple of guys up in Bristol who look after kind of all the website, shop, and social media, etc. Not that we do a lot of social media advertising or even advertising on Amazon, and that really boils back down to cash flow and trying to prioritize cash flow in a small business. I've now started working with a brilliant organization down here called Action Coach, and I have a 2-weekly meeting with the local guy down here who, if anyone's watching this locally to Cornwall, I recommend. A lovely guy called Tim Hill, and he holds me to account. Part of my title, self-acclaimed title of serial inventor, is that my mind is permanently wanting to do the interesting, the exciting stuff, and I don't really enjoy writing out invoices and following up invoices and all the sort of day-to-day running of a business. So I try and keep it very simple. That is going to change, I think, over the next probably 6 months to a year, especially if some of the plans that we put into place this year come to fruition, and then it'll all get a bit more terrifying in how to manage it. With different countries coming in on board, we concentrate on selling in the UK for a reason at the moment, in as much as, because we cover so many markets, we've got plenty enough people to sell Muggies to across those 8, 10, 12 different markets. And therefore, I don't need at the moment to sell to America or Europe. We have sold to America in the past via a TV shopping channel, remains nameless, but one of the big ones over there. And we did very well. I think we sold, I forgot, 26,000 Muggies in 38 minutes, which is pretty weird, but it wasn't quite enough for that particular shopping channel. So they didn't give us another shot. Otherwise, we would have cleared out the stock that we'd had to make beforehand and ship over there in various containers. So it's a huge market and costs a lot of money to make any noise over there. So we've decided not to waste money over there yet. I've done the same thing in Europe because it all came under one kind of growth banner. And again, it soaks up a lot of money for a small organization to make lots of noise over there. So slightly bitten, not totally shy of either. And my intention is that, yes, we will sell in America more and we will sell across Europe more, but in a more targeted, partly supported way, I think. It might be useful just to explain very, very briefly the different ways we go to market, because some of it's digital and some of it isn't. And you guys are obviously involved in the digital side, and I'm very interested in the digital side as well. But we do sell to retailers direct. We do sell to distributors direct, not crossing over into different markets, but we have distributors for the motorhome and caravan world in the UK and also the sailing world. But we sell directly to, for example, independent living, disability retailers, kind of. And the same overseas. We sell to distributors and retailers in New Zealand and Australia in various different markets, and up in the Netherlands, etc. But we're hoping to get into probably 7 countries across Europe via one of the specific markets that we're already doing very well in the UK, and that's, I suppose I can say, it's motorhomes and caravans. And if 1 or 2 of those countries come off, then our numbers will start to change quite quickly, I think. But as I said before, we can switch it on and switch it off because we're in the UK and a UK manufacturer. We haven't got 6, God knows how many weeks delay. You know, I can ring the factory up and say, when can we get the tool in? And it's normally within about a week to 10 days. And then we can make 1,000 Muggies like that. Bang, just keep pressing the button. Every 43 seconds, we can make them. So if we get a big order, we can switch it on. But then we also sell via our website through one of the proprietary website shops, begins with S. And it's not a music app. But we also sell on Amazon, which is a kind of necessary evil, I think. But it's not that evil, although they do take an awful lot of your money. But I've started to get much more interested in the analytics and the technical side of things behind Amazon, and then also behind the website.
You can say Shopify. It's okay.
There may be other online web shops available, but and I have recently been introduced to an AI analytical site that is doing some work with Amazon. I can't mention their name for all the various reasons, but it's very new. It's not officially launched yet. It's in beta testing and all that sort of thing. And via a networking contact, I'm a great believer in networking because, you know, you never know who you're going to meet. And I met someone who's recommended to someone, and it, for them, it could be very exciting. For me, it's not doing enough yet, but they haven't switched on all the bells and whistles because they're testing it on real sites, and we're just one of those sites. We're a very small site. They've got some huge sites on it. But anyway, that whole AI investigation side of it really fascinates me because I don't want to employ loads of people within Muggy because I don't really need to. But we can, you know, I want to support UK businesses, and you know, we get our boxes made in Cornwall, in fact, for all the distribution, etc. But we don't need an awful lot else. And for someone who was very much pre-AI, back in the 70s, working last century, I can see the benefits of it without it stripping away, you know, loads of people's livelihoods. Yes, there will be some people who have to retrain and have a bit of a think, but I think it's very powerful in the way that we can manipulate the creativity and probably the systems that we currently use, not chuck them out with the bathwater, but obviously use them to our advantage. But I'm based in Cornwall and I sell Muggies in Cornwall, but my market is a little bit bigger than Cornwall. And I find it quite difficult to not conceptualize, but to encapsulate the potential size of the market that I'm selling to. And I don't think I'm over egging it when I say that we're possibly our market is possibly as big as the mobile phone market, if we really wanted it to be, which is slightly terrifying. Not everyone's going to want a Muggy. Some people don't get it. It's like Marmite or Terry Wogan. You either love him or hate him, and the rest of the dichotomies. That's probably quite a long answer to whatever question you asked me.
No, it's a brilliant, lots of content in that answer. Thank you so much. I think what I've kind of realized, or this is my kind of summary of your answer, I guess, is it seems like you are almost the single point of failure, point of success in the business, but you have so many different teams that you kind of work with across the UK, and it seems like you are sitting with this problem of you wanting to scale the business but keeping headcount low and also ensuring that it's done in an efficient way. I think social media also came up as a thing that you think about quite a bit, and how to start that process or optimize that process without then again having to increase headcount or having to take some of your time away. And obviously, as a serial inventor, that's not necessarily always something that you want to spend your time on. You rather want to like think about new things, new kind of I hope I'm not putting words into your mouth, maybe new products that Muggy could also expand to as a company, or just in general how to optimize your business rather than thinking about what should we post on X social media account. I think a lot of e-commerce leaders do struggle with this idea of growing a business while also keeping your headcount low. And so I was actually wondering, because you did touch on AI, and I think you also have an idea of, you kind of have a general understanding that it could help you. I'm wondering if you've tried any AI tools or strategies to tackle these problems that you see and to kind of scale Muggy or to just make your business more efficient.
Okay, yes, well, we have. And I suppose the whole area of kind of marketing and promotion is one I haven't really talked about very much yet. The whole social media and marketing side is so important, and to try and make some sort of sensible noise about the business is, or has been, very difficult and very expensive. We are planning in the next well, within the next 6 months, probably before Christmas, some television advertising. Well, there are various options, but through one of the larger TV outlets. But luckily for us, we would be targeting probably people at home in the morning in the kind of low spend or low cost time. So we're not going out on the back of a football match or a game show, but probably old repeats of TV and bits and bobs to that slightly more mature audience, possibly disabled independent living. That is a big core market for us, I'm sure, and I wouldn't be at all surprised in 10 years' time that might be one of our biggest selling areas, wherever we're selling. But so we are looking at the kind of mass marketing side to get a broader coverage. But on the social media side, including AI optimization and sort of manipulation, I've never really given my agencies, both Amazon and the Shopify side or the social website, the web shop side, enough freedom. I certainly couldn't afford it. But we're getting to a point where that's changing, and therefore allowing them to be more creative and slightly more risky. And I think we've always said within the kind of the Muggy fold, and I think of those subcontractors as part of Muggy, that we can have fun with this business. And I think we do that every day, I think. But I think we need to perhaps externalize that a bit more and really have some fun and just not take it too seriously. And I meddle. I keep saying to myself, I'm going to stand back and get away from it, but I just can't help it. I do post things occasionally, whether I'm on a beach, stripped to the waist in a wetsuit, digging a rope out of the sand to then send it off to be recycled along with all the other plastics that are picked out of the sea, for example. I think just fun stuff can't be detrimental to the brand, and Muggy isn't a big enough brand to worry about it yet. But and again, I was meddling and I created, we got a new retailer down in Cornwall, and I created a sort of a family scene, all happy and smiley with a Muggy at this new retailer sort of cafe outlet. But I wanted it to look like a kind of slightly bad AI version, which it did. I wasn't trying to be secretive and pretend that it wasn't AI. So I think that's quite an interesting angle that AI gives us, that you can use it obviously very professionally and include, photographic scene of the pyramids without actually going to the pyramids to shoot your fashion shoot. And that can save an awful lot of not wasted money, but money that can then be put into perhaps more clever script writing or more sort of creativity costs rather than travel and photographic costs, which sorry for the photographer who would have been sent out to Egypt for a 4-day photo shoot and wined and dined in some nice hotel. But there's that side of making it kind of more efficient, and it still gets the story across that the brand is trying to communicate, but redistributes the funds within the overall creative output. I think is one thing. Or you can, you see them every day, these awful, sometimes funny AI dancing blancmange banana things or whatever. But It's very exciting. It's totally alien to me and my
Mm,
starting point in the sort of marketing
mm,
world back in the 80s, 70s, no 80s and 90s last century. But very exciting. So I
mm,
mean,
mm,
hugely
mm.
exciting, but just has to be checked and treated with some respect, I think, before it gets out of control.
I think you touched on something so interesting because I mean, AI gives us this incredible opportunity to be more efficient in our daily work and to create things that weren't necessarily there before, but then humans also want this personal touch, right? You as a business owner want to have a
Mm.
personal touch in your business. And then as a consumer, I am also seeking something that conveys personality or that shows me that there are humans behind the brand. Have you, just switching gears also, have you thought about the use of AI for kind of operational systems or as well, run, and not just marketing?
Um, Probably indirectly, but
Mm,
it it's a conversation I have with my colleague up in Bristol that I will quite. I mean, again, I meet with him on a regular basis, even though we're in two different parts of the country. But um, I'm always thinking there must be a way that we can do X, Y, and Z without having to actually do, all the time wasting stuff that I feel is time wasting.
mm,
But if we put it into a package and go do, and then it will go out and talk to the various customers that we're talking to. But then he reins me back, and I rein myself back then as well, because Muggy as a brand, I mean, I'm kind of known as Mr. Muggy. I mean,
mm,
I think it would be possibly a good idea if there was someone else to hold me back, other than my external business coach. But if we start spreading across various countries and the other side of the world in more serious ways, then I'd be a fool to think I can manage it all myself. But I think AI will help with the early stages of that,
mm, mm,
because it will manage systems that we haven't got yet, but we will need, um, because there will just be too many plates to juggle. There have been at times when there have been too many plates to juggle, and I think
mm,
any small business, self-employed owner, worker, who hasn't had too many plates to juggle in their journey,
mm,
would possibly be lying if they said they didn't have too many plates. And I've dropped a few plates over the years, and then developed and realized that I can't juggle all the plates.
mm, mm.
And that's been a very sobering process. But we're still selling loads of Muggies. We need to sell a lot more. There's over
Mm.
300,000 of them out in the world, which I find slightly bonkers. I'd like that to be 3 million, and
Yeah.
then I can buy my yacht, maybe.
And use your Muggy on your yacht. I mean, this is the tool that you are looking for. Actually, we are developing at Luca, so we do enable you to kind of link all your different platforms, let's say your Shopify, which we now know we can mention, your accounting, etc., to this one platform, and then you can converse with a tool. It would help, and it would also kind of free up a lot of your time so that you can do things that you love and go sailing with friends with your Muggy on your lap being carried around. I'm just looking to the future for a second, and then we will head into some rapid fire questions and close. So when we do think about AI, what do you think the biggest impact of AI will be on brands like Muggy in the next 5 or so years?
Gosh,
Big
now you're asking
question.
me sort of intelligent questions, and my Scottish education back in the 70s probably doesn't rise to this level of questioning. But the biggest impact on Muggy, well, I think it's going to help me, or help Muggy keep its headcount down, because, you know, unfortunately for some, but I'm sure, you know, one door closes, another door opens, different, you know, opportunities. AI will reduce the need for certain roles. That's a given. We can't, you know, we can't stick our heads in the sand. So that's always been part of my my goal, I suppose. Mainly, I suppose, for financial reasons. But if there are systems that can do a lot of the things that I'm going to need to do in the future, then roll on the systems. But I've been told by various people, you know, treat AI a bit like an intern or an apprentice, in as much as, you know, let them do the work, but make sure you check it before it goes out, kind of. And hopefully that need for checking will come down as it learns it learns about us and the business and individual brands and businesses. But yeah, I think we need to keep the the cutoff switch ready if we need to pull the plug.
It's in industry, we call it human in the loop. So you have the AI doing the loop or doing the thinking or doing a lot of the work, but then there's always a human in the loop to kind of check it, right? And to be the kind of gatekeeper or the guardrails among the system. I can also imagine that AI allows users now, a lot of people are using AI like Google, right? So it allows users to very directly search, find me the most durable, sustainable solution for carrying multiple mugs up a staircase, or for someone with limited mobility. And then that can directly kind of show people Muggy, right? So it also kind of almost, I would assume, flattens the playing field a bit, or levels the playing field a bit for Muggy, because AI can be so niche and so specific when people use it to search. So your marketing concern is definitely a very pertinent one. And then we just have 5 rapid fire questions. So it's just quick gut instinct questions. So or answers, don't overthink them. And let's go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so what is one trend in the e-commerce world that you think people should be paying more attention
to? Fake news.
I didn't think that one relates to e-commerce, but that's a good point.
Well, fake e-commerce news, or
yes.
You know, fake, fake. But fake offers, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. A lot of people also being kind of scammed and stuff these days because things look so realistic, right?
Yeah.
What is one trend that everyone is overhyping?
That we're all going to be taken over by AI and robots, and they're going to rule the world. You know, what is it? Not make my day. I'll be back. When are going to need Arnold Schwarzenegger to come and sort them out.
I totally agree. What is the book or the idea that has shaped the most, or shaped how you think about business or being a business leader the most?
Gosh, that's quite a question for someone who is probably dyslexic, and with a little sprinkling of ADHD, I'm told. I'm not a great reader, but it's something that my business coach has put me in touch with, and that is actually listening to books.
Yes, podcasts.
Yeah, well, business
or audiobooks.
No, I won't actually wave the book in front of you, but there's an extraordinary book. About how to make an offer that's so good that your customers can't say no. And I find it very aligned with Muggy.
Okay.
In as much as I've got to bring it back to Muggy, haven't I? Muggy is so efficient at doing what it does that I offer an 88-year guarantee. And, you know, there aren't many products that apart from Le Creuset Pand, I think, that will last a lifetime. But if you have a problem with a Muggy, send it back and send it back and we'll give you your money back. But I'd almost say I'm with a return rate of 2 Muggies against 300,000 sales, if you buy a Muggy and you don't like it, just send it back and I'll give you money back. It's guaranteed you'll like it. And that's probably too long an answer for your question.
No, that's great. I would love if you send me the link after the recording so that we can put it in the show notes. The link to the book, that would be amazing. Okay, 4th question. You're a serial inventor, as we discussed. And where do you think your best ideas come from?
Quiet moment out walking with my dog.
It does wonders to clear the mind.
Yes, just clear out the stresses and strains. There are lots of others, but out walking with a dog is pretty good.
Then we have to free up some of your time, it seems, using AI so that you can walk your dog more and get more good ideas. And then the final question is the one piece of advice you give to any e-commerce or kind of retail business owner or founder today.
JFDI.
JFDI. Elaborate.
I'll have to explain the translation off air.
Just flipping to it.
Absolutely right. Bang on. It was given to me by a client of mine when I was working in the agency world for Ford. We used to launch cars for them, and they knew that we would get the job done. And when you started talking about all the budgetary nitty-gritty intricacies, he'd just point to a sign on the wall behind him that he had framed, and it was just 4 letters, because he knew we would deliver. Just go away and sort it out.
Oftentimes people do overthink, right? And it's almost we tend to be too cautious in our actions. So I agree that just doing it could definitely.
But again, this whole thing about waiting until you get it right. I mean, the beginning of Muggy was, I was building tree houses. I created the prototype because it was in my head. I had to get it out of my head, and it was some sheets of neoprene rubber, leftover bits of wetsuit. It wasn't right, but it got the idea out of my head, and you then modify it, and you can do it with any product or any idea or any business. So long as you're not breaking the law, get it out there, let people do it, and go for it, and amend as required. I don't know.
Totally
Getting
agree.
a bit philosophical now.
No, I love the philosophy. But thank you so much. This has been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And then last question before we wrap, where can users find you and Muggy?
Muggy.co.uk.
Perfect. Easy as that. Well, thank you so much for being on the e-commerce leaders series. And thank you for such a brilliant conversation. I am so inspired by those stories you told of the 2 customers and how your product really changed their lives. And then to everyone else listening, if you want the world's most useful drinks carrier, which is also sustainable and changes lives, literally, head over to muggy.co.uk. And that's a wrap. So I hope you've enjoyed it and see you on the next episode. Thanks.
Thank you very much.